Yeah, man.
Got him.
Got him.
Fucking got him.
I'm hat up.
Oh shit! I don't have a hat.
Oh no.
I'm in a room with no hats.
How are you in a
Really?
room with
There's
no
no-
hats?
There's no hats
Dude.
in this room.
Dude, have you seen that room lately? Joe?
No, I haven't.
I don't invite Joe over. He would make me feel bad.
Really? It's that bad?
Bro, I seen worse shit on episodes of Hoarders.
Fuck off! No, you haven't. Mine's at least an
There's
organization.
a bird nest in there. I'm not even... No, I'm kidding about that. I didn't see a bird nest. But it wouldn't surprise me.
It's organized in a weird way.
I think I've heard orders say that.
For us to both get out of the room, he had to stay right where he's sitting, right there.
Uh-huh.
So I had enough room to open the door and get out.
Hey, how's my chair doing?
Your chair's fine. It's got a bunch of clothes on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's comfortable. Every now and then I sit in it and be like, this is how Joe felt. But I have to sit up like I'm tall though.
Right.
I'm like,
And all
oh, this is how
arrogant.
Joe felt. Erger.
Joe, look at me.
I'm tall and have friends.
It's like there were 3 of me here. It was weird. I don't like it.
Yeah, Mike and I practice all the time. We FaceTime each other and practice our impressions of you without you.
Sexual tension was palpable.
Yeah, I know. Joe's like, I would fuck me
I'd
twice.
fuck me 2.5 times.
Look at these Uno cards.
You don't play Uno?
Got these ones?
They look like 80s versions.
It's got these ones. It's got these ones.
Why do you have so many?
And I got these ones. So we can play Uno
Yeah, but you only need 1 deck.
at a time. Then you throw them away.
Oh, you play a game, you're done with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they have
disposable Uno cards.
That seems very un-environmental.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be done?
We're biodegradable.
Am I doing this wrong?
Biodegradable?
Probably not.
Oh.
They're cool because
Composting Uno?
they're a decades collection.
That was
They have
it.
it? Deck AIDS?
Yeah, get it? So you have the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's got like the
Far out,
70s look to it.
Man.
Ha 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 ha. You have the 80s,
Red.
Yep.
bro.
Very chrome.
You have the 90s.
Tubular?
Sick.
No.
That would be better. You have the
Sick.
double O's because it looks like the Matrix,
That's the bomb.
and you have the
Bomb.
10s.
There we go. Now that slaps.
Yeah, there you go.
Uno's on fleek, yo.
Yeah, yeah. And then I have an office deck as well. Not like it. Not a deck for the office. Like it's an office themed deck
Right.
of Uno cards. They
John
have
Krasinski deck.
yeah, because they have a bunch of them now that have like a special card, like a special rule for that deck. Like these ones are they're just Uno, but they look cool. The office one, reach way over here because I'm organized. Office one is where's it at? I can't remember where the thing is at. I have to pull the instructions out probably. Oh, so if you pull the Kevin's Famous Chili card, everyone has to drop their cards, which is a thing from The
gotcha.
Office. Because he drops his famous chili.
Yes.
Anyhow, yeah, so, you know, that's cool. And I'll show you the other ones, but they're not accessible right now.
There's more? Why is there more?
I have the 50th anniversary ones, and then I have the minimalist ones.
Jeez.
I think I showed you the other ones, though, before.
I think
I don't even think
mean-
I have an Uno deck. Like one Uno deck. And he has like 50.
So the real bad thing about this is I bought this that got delivered today.
Is it Uno?
he bought an Amazon package.
I buy tons of those.
Yeah. Now it's a thing to hold all my card games.
Where are you gonna put that?
That is not your fucking problem, all right, Michael?
It's true. It's not my problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I am curious as how you're going to solve that problem.
Fuck off. Anyhow, I don't have a problem. You have a problem. I tried to set it. What are we talking about today, kids? What's going on? What's happening?
Whatever you want. I just finished episode 7 of WandaVision.
Nice. You got 2 left, son. What are you thinking so far?
She's a monster and needs to be stopped.
Yeah, it's fine. Mike, how far did you get into it? You finished it, right?
You finished it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 2 episodes left, and my thoughts on this are literally, I kind of agree more with Tony in Civil War, with the whole, like, obviously you're starting to introduce mutants into this. Yeah, they need to be registered, and like the regular squishy people need to be able to stop them. Whenever.
You're right to a certain extent, which these next 2 episodes are gonna kind of ease that burden of her being a total cunt bag. You know what I mean? There's some other
country going on,
stuff going on. There's other things going on.
Yeah,
Muppetry going on.
It's not easy being green.
But yeah, I totally agree. She did kind of
go off the deep end, and no one can stop her. Like, where are the Avengers? Well, obviously, you know,
a lot of them.
We don't. You know, after the Infinity War, most of them really aren't. The big ones aren't there anymore. But yeah, the squishy people need something to stop these people from just doing stuff.
Don't worry, it'll all work out at the end.
I'm still kind of worried. Like, no matter how, because one of my problems that I have is that they are slowly painting something else going on in the background. It's still more or less, you get the idea that that pretty much all this is being controlled by Wanda. It's all, no matter what's happening, it's all Wanda. But even if she comes out of this as like not being the ultimate bad guy, she's still kidnapped a whole entire town because of her grief and whatnot, to bring back Vision, essentially.
Yes. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. You are correct. And what you were thinking is completely correct. There's a little bit more puppetry going on than what they've explained just yet. But
she's still fucking up.
Yeah, she is still to blame for the most. I mean, fully yes, but there's some other things that there's some things in there, and then
But getting over all of that, my fear is that by the end of this season, and I don't know if they're planning on doing other seasons, so I'm just going to assume that they're not going to plan on doing other seasons. That this is just one contained thing, and that's it. It feels like she's going to get off scot-free. Like, everybody is going to just be like, oh, it was something, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're sorry. You can just go back to doing normal stuff now. Everything's A-okay. And it's like, no, there needs to be consequences for this stuff. And I have a feeling that there's going to be no consequences for any of Wanda's actions at all. That we're supposed to root for her for being a hero and root for her for being hurt because she lost someone. But in the end, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much she's lost. She's now taken stuff from other people and kidnapped other people. So, she still needs to have consequences from these actions, and it just doesn't feel like she's going to.
Yes and no.
Especially the way Rambo's treating things. And I kind of don't really care for that character. She's played well, don't get me wrong, and there could be more to it. It's just that the whole... I feel like I identify more with the leader of SWORD, or at least the on-site leader of SWORD, where I get that. I saw Mike's reaction. They paint him as the bad guy, and I understand he probably is ultimately a bad guy. he's obviously doing something else with Vision. He's trying to bring him back, but trying to bring back some sort of weaponized version of Vision. Obviously, he's probably the one pulling the strings pretty much of everything. But the idea of that, like, if you set that aside and just go, well, he's just a person that's he's a regular squishy person up against a superhero, supervillain, you know, having the intention of just like, yeah, we just need a killer is kind of the right action, I would say. And having Rambo come along and just be like, no, she's misinterpreted, you know, she's misunderstood, and I can get through to her, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. She's basically a superpowered terrorist and kind of needs to be taken out in the only way that can be.
But she's a superpowered terrorist because of the actions of America, like most terrorists.
I'm not disagreeing. Obviously, I'm only going off of what I've watched, and there's still 2 episodes left, and I'm not saying that. Yeah,
you are right, but I think you will end up. You might still kind of have that feeling, but not as bad as you're thinking you're gonna. You really need to watch. Well, I can't wait to talk to you after you see the next 2 episodes.
Which will probably finish them sometime this week, or this weekend, I should say. Yeah, but anyway, that's my take so far on WandaVision. Yeah.
Aside from that, how do you like the vibe of the show, though? Aside from thinking that the main character is going to be,
it's really cool. It's really interesting from a perspective that each episode it represented a decade. So. In the first episode, it was the 1950s.
Yeah,
and you got what was it, Leave It to Beaver or something like that type of aesthetic. But I love the fact that the audio was stereo. All the audio was stereo during those episodes.
It was actually mono, by the way.
Was it mono?
The first 2 episodes are mono, and then it breaks to stereo. And then obviously, you know,
I say stereo because oddly enough, the receiver still shot everything out as Dolby Atmos. So it's like, okay, this is obviously not Dolby Atmos because I don't hear anything else going on anywhere else.
Yeah,
this is just all happening in the front 2 speakers, as far as I could tell. So that's why I was saying stereo. But that's cool that it's mono. Then it goes to stereo. And then you even have that transition, that really cool transition from 4:3 to it suddenly just goes widescreen letterbox, and you're like, oh, that was awesome.
Which I didn't even like. I got so into watching the show, it didn't even bug me when I went into. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, right. It's so well done, so well acted. As bad as I think that Wanda is as a character. She seems pretty much like a villain at this point. Elizabeth Olsen is amazing as her, especially in later episodes. This past episode was, I want to say Modern Family-ish, like, you know, stopping and talking to the camera and
breaking
stuff.
the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall. I never watched Modern Family, so that's why my brother took a guess at that, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, that seems right. Yeah. So it's absolutely fantastic, and Paul Bettany as Vision, he just has so much more room to grow as a character and just be a phenomenal actor rather than just a one monotone character side character in a couple of movies. So he's absolutely fantastic in it. And then just to see some of the other characters come back. What's her name from Thor? Debbie or what was her name?
Darcy.
What was it?
Darcy
come back. Absolutely awesome. And then of course they mentioned, you know, the events of Infinity War. You get to see Rambo come back from the snap as well.
Yeah, that was a really well done episode.
That was really cool. So it's a really well done show. And the first 3 episodes make no fucking sense at all. Even when you watch them back to back to back, they make no connection to each other whatsoever. So even if I had watched, I'm kind of glad that I waited so long to be able to binge them more, because if I had to watch because it was the first 3 episodes that they released in one setting. So if I had to watch just those 3 episodes, I'd be like, well, I don't care for this. This was so weird and out of place that I probably wouldn't have watched the 4th episode for a while anyway. But having the ability to watch the first 3 episodes, go, this is weird, so let's see where this is going. The 4th episode actually started tying things together, made it even better experience. So it's a really good show. It really is.
And I really do want to talk more about it once you finish it, because there's a lot of cool stuff they did with the show outside the plot and the story and the way the show is built and things like that, which is pretty cool.
I'm sure. It was really cool to go back and see, like, you have those instances. Like, I know I called them Pleasantville before I really knew about things, because it was black and white, and then you suddenly see color things coming in. When you get outside of the hex in episode 4, and you're like, they start sending in drones and stuff, and you're like, oh shit, that thing transformed into that helicopter. That dude who's going through the sewer is that beekeeper guy that showed up. It's really cool to see that stuff explained.
Yeah, they do a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think, without spoilers?
I liked it a lot. Again, without spoiling anything, when you get to the end of the season, watch all of it. There's, like I said, there's stuff all the way through, but once you get to the end and you kind of like see what they do, there's things that click from the past episodes that you thought made sense, makes more sense, and I'll say there's no closure.
So it leaves it open for a season 2.
Yeah, for sure. And going forward to the other movies.
Some sort of continuation, because this is supposed to lead into the next phase of Marvel movies. Yeah.
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I will say, I think episode 8 was my favorite episode. And once the ending, because there was no closure, I was kind of annoyed with for a little bit. But then I was like, it's the same shit other shows do. Like, it was just like a little gateway thing to the next phase. But it doesn't really. People are like, oh, it lets you know exactly where the next set of movies are. No, it doesn't. It gives you some hints. It gives you some clues, but it doesn't like lay anything out. It doesn't tell you anything. It just lets you know that, there's more shit to come. Yeah, it was just a fun watch. And you talk about Paul Bettany having room to breathe with the character and everything. What's her name? Elizabeth?
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen.
I am so impressed with her as an actress after watching the show. Like, way more than anything else I've seen her. I was never thought she was bad by any stretch. Like, she was fine, but I mean, they're superhero movies, so it's like gotta be kind of hard to pull off great acting performances sometimes in superhero movies, because it's so noisy and fucking colorful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But man, I was really impressed with her acting chops, man. She's way better of a performer than I thought she was, given what I've seen from her in the past. And so it actually makes me like excited to see her in her next role, whether it be another TV show or another movie, whatever it is next. Like, I'm really excited to see what she does with it, because I think the character itself has just gotten really interesting. Like, it was always fine, but now it's like really good, and that's more than like some of the movies in the past, like especially like Captain Marvel. Like, once I saw Captain Marvel, I was like, cool, all right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not itching to see what happens next. And then with some of the roles, and I get in game was so much going on. You couldn't really continue very many people's story. That was more Iron and Cap's thing. But like, there wasn't a lot of things where I was left being like, oh, I'm excited to see where this goes or this goes. You know what I mean? But I am super excited to see where Wanda ends up. So, in that aspect, the show was a huge success because I didn't really care that much beforehand. So,
yeah, definitely. I know that, and I don't remember where I read this. I wish I would have saved it because I didn't really read much into it because it was about WandaVision, but it was at least about Elizabeth Olsen. She had something else going on at the time filming this, but she wanted to make sure that she focused on this and not so much of the other thing that she was doing. I want to say it was more with Marvel. I just can't remember what it was.
Bum, bum.
Yeah. So staying within the Disney universe, it looks like Liam Neeson might be coming back for a Qui-Gon series. Maybe, probably not, but at least looks like we're gonna get a Qui-Gon Jinn series.
Yeah, I saw they were talking about that, and I was like, that seems weird to me.
Yeah, it looks like it's just very early stages. That's why it's like, probably not going to get Liam Neeson back. I mean, think of the budget you'd have to do in order to de-age him for the whole entire series.
Yep.
But that was the only thing that I read about it. There's nothing about when it's going to take place. Obviously, it would have to be before he dies.
That's afterwards.
Probably before he became Liam Neeson's.
Mm-hmm.
So a young Qui-Gon, pre-Liam Neeson's, is what I would say would be. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Be pretty interesting, that's for sure.
Right?
It just depends on, obviously where they go with it, I guess, would be the biggest thing, because, like, we don't know a lot of his past, but we know, obviously, where his future went.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know, it'd be interesting to see...
The fucking toilet.
Well, because I know there's a little bit about with him and Obi-Wan and some of the books, but I don't know if there's too much to go on. Not that I've read, at least. But I know there's a lot. He's that rebel of a Jedi Knight, and that's kind of one of the reasons that he was like kind of given the leeway he was, but also like kind of also put on a short leash. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Made some choices in the past that probably weren't unanimously liked by everybody. But who knows? 8 episodes of just watching the two halves of his body like rot.
I say we call it Adventures of a Force Ghost, and we follow his escapades as
it's just him haunting Anakin, haunting Darth the whole entire time, just annoying him.
We just plug him into the backgrounds of different scenes throughout the Star Wars universe, like making things happen for the good guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like blocking a fucking laser shot here or there just to give the guy an extra couple seconds,
Just
make him feel good.
Goes foot out and trips some stormtroopers.
Yeah, man. Who wouldn't want to watch that? I'm guessing a lot of people, but
probably a lot of people. Yeah,
I'm in.
If it's well written, though, maybe people just jump on board. Like, we'll give it a shot, and then it's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Or you can make it a wacky family comedy. You know what I mean? Like Ghost Dad, but without the rapey actor.
Without the fudge pops.
Yeah, and the pudding pops. No.
Gross.
Right.
Joe, what were the stories they sent you? Because my bookmarks apparently don't want to show up on here.
Did you text them?
Yeah, you said you saved one of them. Or
yeah,
you already saved one of them.
Why didn't you show Stephen King and the Duffer Brothers will be taking on the Talisman.
Not just Stephen King. Steven Spielberg.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Steven Spielberg. I misread that. Steven Spielberg and the Duffer Brothers will be taking on Stephen King's The Talisman. There's too many Stevens in that title.
So says you. Yeah, so that's pretty goddamn rad, I would have to say.
Now, I haven't gotten to The Talisman yet. I haven't read that that book.
It's one of the ones you do with Peter Straub.
Okay. So I'm not really 100% familiar with the story of it. I just know it has to do with children and some sort of weird parallel universe. So it kind of sounds like Stranger Things anyways.
Yeah. You could definitely say that for sure.
So having the Duffer Brothers, who literally are doing a show about that, do that, will be absolutely fantastic. Have you read it yet, Cody?
No, I have that one. Well, I have the actual physical book of that one. But it's one of those ones where, because it wasn't just him, I glossed over it to read the other stuff. And then I was going to go back and read the stuff he did with, like, I made a mistake and read Gwendolyn's Button Box thinking that was one of his, but that's actually one he wrote with somebody else too. But like that one, Black House, which is the other one he did with Peter Straub. And then there's another one he did with somebody else too. So I haven't read those ones because they're not the Stephen King ones. But this motherfucker keeps coming out 2 books a year, which makes it hard to keep reading the old ones because I want to read the new ones too. I don't want to fall behind, even though I'm super far behind because the dude has like 100 books. But
right, and that's just books. That doesn't include like novellas.
Yeah, in the short stories and
that he did as a different under a different pen name, and yeah,
some bitch. Yeah, so I haven't read that one. I know a little bit about it because I read a little bit about it when I was reading that article from before. But yeah, it's basically about a kid who is looking for this crystal known as the Talisman that's supposed to be able to save, either heal people or bring them back to life. I can't remember which one it was, because his mom is dying of cancer. Well, I think it's cancer. And so he goes on this like adventure to find this talisman that he finds out about somehow. Again, I don't know how he finds out about it. And there's some kind of like, obviously wacky adventure he goes on to find this thing. Again, I don't know enough about it. I just know a little bit from what I've read. But yeah, I mean, it's it's got kids in it, and it's got mysterious stuff,
and weird stuff in it.
Yeah. Trying to find the list of the stuff he did with other people, because the other books, because he has like the stuff he did is Richard Bachman, things like Rage and
The Running Man,
The Long Walk, Running Man, things like that. They're all republished under his name now, so you can find those very easily. But I can't remember what the other, because there's the Talisman, there's the Black House, and there's something else that he wrote with someone else besides Gwendolyn. Well, Gwendolyn's Button Box, technically he wrote with somebody else, but it's really a story he didn't finish, and then this other guy finished it with him. So it's not like they co-wrote it. And then of course they're the one he did with his son Owen, which is really good as well. So keep talking while I'm looking these up because I can't. There's another book that he wrote with somebody else that I can't remember what it is right now.
Fair enough. The only other thing that I have here, well, there are two other things, but you guys probably wouldn't even want to talk about that last one. I'm not even really sure if I want to talk about it. It was announced that ESPN is signed a 7-year multi-platform deal with the NHL, bringing the NHL back to ESPN and ESPN Plus, which I thought was really cool. And I realized, wait, doesn't Disney own Fox Sports? And now ESPN, well, not now ESPN, it went the opposite way. They owned ESPN and now Fox Sports.
No, so they don't own Fox Sports.
They didn't take over Fox Sports?
They had to sell that off as part of the deal because they own ESPN.
Gotcha.
So Fox News, Fox Sports, and whatever that other piece was, they had to sell off before they could completely merge all of Fox and 20th Century into the fold of Disney.
Okay. That explains a little bit.
But it is weird that obviously they've been trying to do something with ESPN to make it more of a viable source for people wanting to watch. Not just subscribe to the digital version, but like obviously just on TV because there is so much other, stuff out there. But I mean, they've been trying all sorts of different stuff, like bundling it with Hulu and Disney Plus and things like that. So it makes sense they're going after that. It's just weird that they went after hockey because Fox Sports was like the main go-to for hockey.
Locally,
I should say, not
NBC
nationally.
Sports is the one that had the hockey deal.
Oh, is it?
Prior for like game of the weeks kind of deal, primetime games, things like that.
Right.
Yeah, so NBC is kind of fucked now because they don't have any real live sports now out of the major four. There's a couple local affiliates that still have their teams in certain sports. Like Arizona's all Fox Sports Arizona, all the local teams play through there. But some cities have it through NBC, CBS, shit like that. But now NBC is kind of in trouble because, one, they don't have enough of a sports background to get into the NFL, which the NFL is renegotiating a bunch of deals right now. So they're not going to get NFL. They just lost hockey. They don't have baseball, and baseball I think still has a few years before their TV things come up. And then basketball, they don't have any basketball right now either, which I think that's the closest one they could jump into if they really wanted to plant their foot down and try to get back in live sports. And it makes sense because they have a big history with the NBA. Like the NBA and NBC was a huge deal back in the 90s. They had some finals and stuff like that. But yeah, so NBC is kind of like fuck because really the only thing that drives ad revenue now is live sports. So they're not happy that they
I bet not.
But,
this is a windfall for me because I don't get Fox anymore.
I had to get DirecTV just because I didn't get Fox anymore. Hulu,
right? And I refuse to pay for NHL TV. Like don't get me wrong, the $100 makes sense. The $100 for a season makes sense if you are a diehard hockey fan that wants to watch a shit ton of out of market teams play. I don't want to do that. I only want to watch the Coyotes play.
Yeah.
The single team packages are $80. Fuck that. Why?
Well, at least they gave you a single team package in the NHL. NBA, you can't do anything in market.
But still, it's only a $10 savings. Why not just pay for the $100 then at that point? That's like, I assume that's what their reasoning is that they're literally just like, well, we're going to make it a little bit cheaper, for those sticklers that are like, I don't want to ever, I only want to have my team. But at the same time, it's not cheap enough to really do that. Might as well just go for $100 for the whole entire for the whole season for the whole all the NHL teams.
Yeah.
But at least from here it says that it looks like they're where was it? So the NHL's out of market streaming package is also moving to ESPN Plus as a part of a subscription offering. So I don't know if that necessarily means that they're getting rid of NHL Plus and they're just gonna fold it into an ESPN Plus type thing, or it just means that their offerings are going to be there as well. You're just going to be able to subscribe to NHL TV through ESPN Plus or something like that. Yeah. But at least it gives me the possibility of bringing back hockey to me, because I have ESPN Plus part of the Hulu Disney Plus bundle that you have going on there. But it's funny you mentioned the NFL renegotiating their stuff. Did Amazon ever land that? I know the Amazon was going for like Tuesday night games or something like that. Did they land that
for football?
Correct, for football, yeah.
Okay, so they have some deal already worked out where after week 9, they get Thursday night games also available on Prime.
Okay.
Not exclusively available, but also available.
Okay.
But that's one of the big renegotiations is Amazon wants to get in there and get its own night. So there's been talk about NFL adding a Saturday night or a Tuesday night.
Weird.
Yeah. They might not. The NFL doesn't want to add another day, but what they are willing to do is add another day in the playoff time, because they can do an extra game and just not do the double headers, spread them out day to day. So yeah, I don't know. But Amazon's definitely really trying to snag, and they won't get Thursday night football exclusively because the NFL Network is obviously owned and operated by the NFL.
Right.
But what they can do is go exclusively NFL Network via Amazon, or exclusively Amazon via NFL Network, and then NFL Network have like replays and shit like that. So that's something that they're trying to figure out. But ESPN just gave them, I don't think this is an exaggeration. It was like a 10-year. I think the offer was like a 10-year, 10. What was it? The numbers were insane. Like it was a shit ton of billions for the total life of the contract. To keep the NFL on the ESPN for what they do have, and then try to get in the rotation for a Super Bowl. Because currently, I didn't even realize this, they're not in rotation right now to get a Super Bowl. That's like NBC and Fox keep trading them off apparently.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they're trying to work on that, and the numbers, the NFL cap. The cap for this season just got locked, which means the TV deal has come in, because everyone had to do a quick little renegotiation, because next year they go to a 17-game season, not a 16-game. So everyone had to go through their negotiations and try to rethink how they're going to do everything. But the cap got set, which means the numbers for the TV deals must be set, or at least close enough to being set where they feel confident with their revenue sharing going forward. But the numbers haven't been released as of yet. But we're expecting ESPN to basically give them all their extra money. Like everything ESPN has, they're giving it to the NFL to show games.
Nice. I kind of like it. Have a lot of sports in one location that I can actually watch. Not that I watch football, but
yeah,
I know people that watch football. And this is just Disney throwing around money at this point. Like they print it, so might as well just throw it somewhere.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's pretty awesome,
right?
Yeah.
Did you find what you're looking for?
Yeah.
All right, lay it on us.
So it is The Talisman and its sequel, Black House, between him and Peter Straub. Then there's Sleeping Beauties with him and his son, Owen. And then he has the Gwendolyn series that he wrote with Richard Chesmar, which is 3 books now, I believe, if I saw that correctly. It was Richard Chesmar that was the third one, not Peter. I know I was reading a thing just now that Stephen and Peter want to work on a third book in the Talisman series, but have so far have not released any details about what's going to be there. They have an idea they've been throwing around, I guess. So
fair enough. I mean, you got to pry Steven away from his typewriter, doing his own stuff.
His word processor.
Word processor. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I didn't know. Did you know he did a bunch of hard case books, like crime books?
Stephen King?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So I thought his newest book that just came out on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, Later, I thought that was one of them. I thought they're called the Hard Case Files, and they're not. One that's just kind of revitalized because it got a deal with Freeform, I think, to do a series on called Joyride. But it's one of those things where like he has so many different things and different like books and stuff that he does, like just randomly all over the place because he doesn't ever stop writing apparently. That he has a bunch of those, and there's like 13 or 14 of them, and they're not like the normal. I guess again, I haven't read any of them. They're not like the normal like spooky, scary, blah 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 stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But I was looking at the adaptations.
New stuff every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, it's like when he did like The Running Man, for example. What a fucking bizarro fucking book and thing. Like, I can understand why he wanted to do something different, and obviously he did. But it's like the shit he did with it was like so far away from like it's a good book, but it's not. When you think Stephen King, it's not what you thought, and obviously that's what he wanted. He wanted he wanted you to think that he was doing something else. Here it is, Hard Case Crimes. There is, oh my bad, I'm sorry, I got the number wrong. There are a total of, hold on, 148. He has 23 of them because there's other people that wrote them in this series of books, but he has like 23 of those 148 are his, and they're these weird. It's this publishing house called Hard Case Crime. That is an imprint of some company that just has a bunch of different authors that write these books for him. And apparently Stephen King, his most famous one in that was called Joyland. And there's a bunch. I guess there's a bunch of other ones that like I don't know. It's weird. I just found out this and I hadn't gone. Like the Colorado Kid is on there. And there's a couple other ones. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of more on there too. But there's like all sorts of different authors that do these books. And they don't have anything to do with each other. They're not like interwoven stories. They're just from this imprint that does like crime books. And I was like, Jesus, that's another set of fucking books I didn't know he had. So weird.
Well, it's very prolific.
Yeah. And I was looking up his his adaptation list, like the stuff that is adapted by like of his work. And he has just in the works right now, I think the list was 17 different projects that are all being worked on.
Currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, most authors don't even have that many of their books adapted in their whole career.
No, it's very weird. And I've thought about this before. I don't know if I've talked about it. It's very weird that in the last, we'll just say 10 years, suddenly there's been this like Stephen King renaissance. Like he's been a prolific writer and people have really loved his books and they're very classic books, and it's probably just speaks to the fact that he probably still sells all of his properties for $1 just to get the adaptations done. But it just seems like movie, TV show wise, in the past 10 years, he's been the one author that people have just like pulled from to just make his movies or are inspired by his books to make movies.
I
It's
think
very weird.
a big part of that though is the fact that everyone's been adapting his shit for forever, for like a long time. His shit's being adapted, but very rarely was any of it good.
Yeah, very true.
Like very rarely was any of it good. And I think because a lot of his shit is so batshit crazy that now with the technology where you can make a movie, you can make it now for a pretty modest budget in like today's standards for a movie, that studios are willing to throw money at something that is a property that only has to be adapted. A lot of these studios probably own going back and realize, oh shit, we have a bunch of Stephen King stuff we can make. and they're treating it with more respect now than I think a lot of that. Because I mean, in the 90s, if you were making a TV movie out of something that, you know what I mean, that's you're pretty limited.
How can we make this? And yeah.
Because like the biggest TV movie, and it used to be like a big deal, like every major network would post like a 2-day TV movie event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Danielle Steele.
Yeah, but the thing is even their big event, budgeting wise, was nowhere near the budget of a big blockbuster movie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of their stuff looked like shit. But now, you could do it in all of its fucking ridiculous glory and have giant spiders running around and everything, and it's much easier to do. So yeah, his stuff, everything that's been adapted is gonna get readapted, and everything that hasn't been adapted yet is gonna get some type of version of it. And you're seeing it on every streaming service has some type of Stephen King thing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Every studio, it seems like, is making some type of movie, but you're gonna keep seeing it until it's everything's ran dry. But he's pumping out fucking 2 books a year, so like it's gonna be
dry out for long
15-20 years after he dies, because he's probably sitting on some books that he never released too.
Well, yeah, that
everything gets adapted.
Yeah. They were still finding books, unfinished books on Michael Crichton's computer for years afterwards.
So I did the count. 17 movies and 9 television adaptations in the works right now.
Yeah.
And that's in the works right now, so that's not even counting all the stuff that they've done recently.
Yeah.
Too bad you just couldn't tie all those together. And
That's
we just get one mainline gunslinger series. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the people attached to work on them is mind-blowing, too. I mean, Edgar Wright's doing Running Man.
Well, a lot of people who are fans of Stephen King are in the position now to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
Like, this is the Stephen King generation. Like, especially if you're a writer. Like, if you're a writer worth, any type of name value, chances are you're a big Stephen King fan growing up.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys end up watching that Eddie Murphy interview on Seth Meyers?
I saw a couple clips of it, but I didn't see the whole thing yet. I
No.
saw the story about the Mooney fight.
Dude, that was my favorite part. Dude, he was so animated and so fucking hilarious.
He's so good.
He's so fucking good.
It's shit like that, when he does stuff like that, and it's like anybody who has doubt whether he'd still be good at stand-up because he hasn't done it in fucking 30 years are stupid, because he does these little things every now and then. He gets into a story like on Seth Meyers, or like a year or two ago when he accepted that Mark Twain award.
Mm-hmm.
And acceptance speech was essentially a 5-minute stand-up set, and I don't even think he realized he was doing it. Like, he was just talking,
just riffing. Yeah,
I'm like, dude, that story plus the Mark Twain thing, all of a sudden you got a solid 10 minutes of a special. Like, he could just completely repeat that verbatim, and bam, you have your first 10 right there. It's like, yeah, dude's gonna be perfect when he comes back for stand-up.
It makes me hope that his tickets aren't too expensive, because I definitely would love to see him do stand-up.
After this pandemic, I'm rethinking what was too expensive to go to.
Well, yes, there are certain things like Eddie Murphy is in his 60s, early 50s, or late 50s, something like
late
that.
50s, almost he's
late
59.
And you don't really have comics of his caliber really doing stand-up anymore, or at least of that, not necessarily of that caliber, but of that generation doing stand-up anymore. So it would be absolutely amazing to see him do stand-up. I know you said that you just finished watching Coming to America, and Cody, you watched it as well. What do you guys think of it? I haven't watched it yet. I don't really care about spoilers or anything.
There's really not a
while. It'll probably be a while before I even see it again, because we've been through this before. It wasn't my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, so I'm not running out to go see the sequel to it. But what did you guys think of it?
Cody?
I actually loved it a lot. It's for the people who haven't seen Coming to America in a long time. There's a lot of it you're gonna not understand. If you're more recently have watched it, or if you've watched it as many times as I have, remember how I was talking to the guys at work about this. Remember how Super Troopers 2 played off jokes from the first one, almost like a rehash of them?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in this movie, but done as a gag in the movie as itself. You know what I mean? Like, there's parts in it where, like, for example, the barbers, they're doing their normal thing, and then something happens where, like, it pulls them away from that little bit they're doing. They go back into, like, the what's happening in the movie, and then go right back into their little shtick of making fun of each other and joking about different random shit. So there's that, and there's a lot of that throughout the movie, and it's like an homage and a way of making a sequel out of a lot of it. And the story is a spoiler rich right now. It doesn't do anything different that the first movie didn't do. If you know the plot of the first movie, you can guess where it's going as the movie goes forward. My theory was incorrect. It wasn't my theory was more clever than it needed to be the sequel, because that's what I wanted to do. But they do an excellent job of celebrating the first movie while making this movie go essentially in the same path and do a lot of the same things. But everyone in it is amazing. Wesley Snipes is fantastic in it. He's just unbelievably outrageous. He's fantastic. Eddie Murphy obviously is amazing. Arsenio Hall. Each of them play multiple characters in it. A lot of returning characters and a couple newer ones. And then there's a lot of just celebration of black culture for that time frame. Is that the best way to put it, Mike?
Yeah.
Like celebrating the music culture and stuff like that from the 80s, and a cool, because they use it as a send-off for James Earl Jones. I can't talk at all.
James Earl Jones?
James Earl Jones's character, because before he dies, he wants to have a funeral, and he wants to see his own funeral.
Okay.
And then it ends up being his funeral because he dies during it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But funny.
Yeah.
Like, oddly enough, it's really funny.
Yeah, and there's this very big, like, because obviously there's this big, like, at the same time Coming to America came out, he was Mufasa. You know what I mean? There's even this bit in this movie where they kind of, like, play that up even more so. And it's the fact, like, Eddie Murphy 30 years down the line is still just the Prince of Zamunda, not the king. And when they set that up, the whole premise is he has to have a male heir to continue the Joffrey name, and he doesn't. He has 3 daughters, and his dad is just unrelentless about how he's a failure how he's pampered him so much over the years that he can't produce an heir. And it's unbelievable how mean it is and hilarious at the same time. It's so funny. But, anyways, Mike, what do you think?
I loved it. And I will say, Cody's right in that if you've seen the first one more recently, you will enjoy the second one a lot more. But if you haven't, like, you're just not gonna know. Like, they're not. You don't need to have seen it. You
Not
just
at all.
won't. You won't know there's jokes happening. You know what I mean? But you're not like missing a joke. You just don't really know they're there.
Right.
And it'd be okay because Jen hasn't seen the first one. Well, the same amount of time it's been since I've seen it, but I've seen the first one tons of times, so I kind of have it memorized. But even Jen, who hasn't seen it, and like I think we watched it the last time about like 3-4 years ago, and she was like, and that's you know what I mean? Like she was picking up on most of it. So if you have the time, I would say watch the first one. But if you don't, it's not gonna hurt your viewing pleasure at all.
And it's also on Prime if you're going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean exclusively.
Well, no, I'm saying the first one.
Yeah,
The first one's on Prime as well.
there's a lot of Eddie Murphy shit on Prime now.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. It's just fun. Like the story is pretty simple and straightforward, but like, I mean, let's be honest. This is not a movie where you're like, if you complain about the story being too simple in this movie, like, are you even trying to like have fun watching a movie, or are you just trying to be an asshole? Yeah, like, that's kind of the vibe I get.
Gotcha.
So just know it's a sequel to an Eddie Murphy movie from 30 years ago. Like, they play up the age thing a little bit. They bring everybody back. And when I say everybody, I think everyone who's alive from the first one is in this second one.
Eric LaSalle is the only one that I didn't know that's not in it.
Who?
Eric LaSalle, Soul Glow.
Yeah.
And
Alive?
he's alive, yeah, because he's
Dickhead,
on.
though. And he got ditched in the first one. So I
Well,
get
that and her sister, Lisa's sister, is not in it either.
Yeah. There's a picture of her in it, though.
Yeah. Well, there's a picture of Eric LaSalle,
Louis
too.
Anderson and a dashiki is in it. Like, that's
Yeah.
enough.
Louis Anderson, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was in the first one. If you don't remember, he worked at McDowell's.
No, I don't remember the.
Yeah, he was like a shift leader at McDowell's when when they started working there.
Yeah.
And he's in it, and he's in a dashiki, and he's hilarious. He's got 3 lines, and he fucking nailed it. I was like, Louis Anderson's just so good in random dumb shit. I wish he popped up more often. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and like I said, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But it's one of those ones where you're just like, ooh, cameo. Oh, that's a good joke. There's a tie-in to Trading Places too that I lost my shit on. It was so well done. I was like, yes. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Speaking of cameos, and I only mentioned this one because they talked about it on Seth. Morgan Freeman.
Yep.
What was his cameo in it?
Oh, so remember when Cody said James Earl Jones wanted to see his own funeral?
Yes.
He was like basically emceeing the funeral. Like he was narrating the funeral as it was going on. And then also giving a speech as if he was actually dead about what happened after the king died. That made me lose my goddamn mind.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
So remember in Wanted when you hear more.
I'm gonna say no.
Well, you hear Morgan Freeman cuss, which is something you don't really hear Morgan Freeman do too often.
Kill this motherfucker.
Yeah.
That in Wanted.
He does a line in this that made me obviously laugh, but made me think of that too, because it's like so weird to hear him curse when he's like, and everyone stopped having sex. No fucking went on after he died, and I was like, what? Oh, it was just, oh my god, it's so funny. But yeah, when you hear him, I was like, wow, it sounds like that sounds like Morgan Freeman. That's hilarious. And they show him, and he's there at the funeral doing the narration, and I was like, oh, it's actually fucking him. That's why it sounds like him.
Oh, and also, Wesley Snipes is fucking hilarious in this movie.
I told you. That's what I'm saying.
Like, so good. Which, like, I haven't seen him be funny in a movie since...
White men can't
Well,
dance.
Eddie Murphy in the interview had mentioned that he did work previously with Wesley Snipes on what was the
Dolomite.
I can't remember the name of the movie. What was it?
Dolomite.
Was it Dolomite?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else, but he said it was really hilarious in that movie too.
Yeah, he did really good in that. But this one, like he chewed up some scene and had some fun with it, and he was like everyone was good. Like Leslie Jones is just every time I see her on something, she's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan, just so smooth and effortless, and how funny he is.
Yeah.
They had another story about how Tracy Morgan was originally actually written to be his son.
Yeah.
But then they got to thinking, like, well, wait, there's only like a 7-year difference, actual age difference between the two. So would this really work? And they were like, nah, it's not going to work.
But I also think that was like 10 years ago too, or something like that, right?
Yeah, he said it was an early draft. He didn't say specifically when it was, but he said it was an early draft of the.
Yeah, because he referenced that on Marin's podcast too, about like the different iterations that it had. And you know what's funny? He said it actually, he like put it away because they said like they couldn't really like get it worked out. And he saw fucking Terminator with Schwarzenegger when they de-aged him, and he was playing young Schwarzenegger again. And he's like, "Oh, you could do that now?" And he's like, "Oh, that gives me an idea." And he went back and wrote in scenes from the original movie.
That they de-aged them.
Some actual footage from the original movie, and then they show some like extra stuff with them being all young. It's really funny. It's just funny to me that fucking a shitty Terminator movie was the
right.
launching pad for this to finally work out the story and get it done.
Right. At least some good came from that.
Yeah.
It's true. I think that's everything.
That's all I got.
Well, speaking of all you got, Joe, comes naturally. We are
Joe.
Mike.
I am Cody. That's it. That's it for this week's episode, everybody. We had fun. Hope you had fun. And like always, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.
Bye, says.